Think of it as a large orchestration system. So if they register that up with a system like MuleSoft Fabric, anybody that's connected to that MuleSoft Fabric has an unfair advantage over anybody else that isn't connected to that.
So if the ecosystem is becoming more open and more collaborative, a natural question follows: who orchestrates all of this? I had two conversations that offered very different but surprisingly complementary answers. Charlie Isaacs is a CTO at Salesforce, and he told me a story that goes back to 2019 when Salesforce and Harman first connected a vehicle head unit to a backend CRM system. Charlie, thank you so much for participating to this podcast. Super excited.
Stefan, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Maybe just in a few words, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Charlie Isaacs. I'm a CTO for Customer Connection at Salesforce, which means I help a lot with innovation and I help our customers innovate, and I help build proof of concepts for our customers, which eventually, hopefully, become real products if there's a gap in the product, but also help our customers implement and go to market quickly with those ideas.
So what I've seen in your profile is that you love prototyping, as you were saying. How do you see prototyping as an important part of actually getting products to the market?
Well, especially now with the advent of things like Cloud Code and vibe coding, and on our platform, we even have vibe coding tools that helps you rapidly prototype on our platform.
Yes.
With the advent of those tools, it is even faster and easier and quicker if you've got a wide and deep platform and a deeply unified platform. It's very easy to not only build proof of concepts, but take them to production with their customers.
All right. So and now I would love to talk about when we were preparing this interview, we talked about what you've done for CS together with Harman. Can you elaborate a little bit on this and tell us the story about it?
Oh, yeah. Well, you're asking me about Connected Auto, and I've got a couple favorite stories. We started a long, long time ago on Connected Auto, before even people were thinking about Connected Auto, way back in 2019. And we were at a brainstorming session with our good customer Harman, and they're part of Samsung, of course. They had a Connected Auto division. They're saying, what can we do together? Because we really want to, salespeople drive a lot, and even their own sales force was in the car a lot, selling to their customer base. We did a brainstorming session and came up with an idea. Why not connect that salesperson and their own back end in Salesforce to the vehicle and into the salesperson so they could not waste time on the way home, doing a call wrap up on the way home, for example. Or the use case we demonstrated in 2020 with Harman was around the sales rep wondering what the next best opportunity was for them while they were driving home or driving anywhere, even driving to a restaurant. Hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Is there anybody in my neighborhood that has a large opportunity size? So what would happen is Harman built their own interactive platform that was able to do a speech to text. So we just built a bridge, which is something that's very easy to do in Salesforce because everything is API enabled in Salesforce. So within a matter of hours, we were able to connect their speech to text engine and their platform into our platform to query Salesforce, and the full power of Salesforce became available for that salesperson driving in the vehicle. And we use Harman's own protocol standards to interact with the driver. So we would push the data to the dashboard. To my knowledge, that was the first ever case of connecting a vehicle front end, a head unit, to a back end CRM system that actually updated information in the back end CRM system and also pushed the data to the sales rep. So the main use case was, hey, I in this area, who should I go visit? And it found the next bet. It used our Einstein capability, which is our AI capability. And now we've taken that way to the next level with this thing called Agentforce.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of our AI back in 2019. We've been doing AI since 2014. Now with 2019.
What is really interesting in the use case you were just mentioning is it's really saying what Salesforce does, meaning providing a platform that's going to get the data where the data is and bring it to the user where the user needs it, right? In your case, it was like, we know that this company has all the CRM data thanks to Salesforce. And the car knows where the guy is, obviously where the driver is, because we have the GPS location. So then we can just match the two. And this is where the Salesforce magic, I would say, is happening, right?
Right. And that's what our CEO, Mark Benioff, he constantly challenges companies to think about And we call that the customer experience, right?
Yeah.
How do you bring the full power of Salesforce, combined with our customers' technology, in that case was Harman, and a future use case was with a company called Qualcomm. So there's an error message on my dashboard. So what should that do? Well, it should create a case. We call it a case in Service Cloud. So we have this product called Service Cloud. We have a field service product, right, which helps technicians, automotive technicians, actually fix the car. So why not have the vehicle not only create that case, that trouble ticket in Salesforce, because our customers, our partners that partner with us on Connected Vehicle, they already are customers of Salesforce, and they may already have Service Cloud or field service. And if they don't, we're happy to sell it to them.
Yeah.
Also, create that case, create the work orders for the field technician, and push to the dashboard the next available service appointment. So the driver has to pull over, right? You don't want to interact with the dashboard, right? Pick an appointment. So the use case was we pull the driver over, and then they pick an appointment. There's 3 appointments that they can choose from. And they pick their favorite place to go to. Their favorite place that they've already chosen before is at the top of the list, but they pick that. And then once they've scheduled their appointment, as they're approaching the dealer, why not notify the dealer that your customer is here for his appointment or her appointment, and then prepare the service bay, right?
Yeah. You're connecting the dots essentially, right? You're making
Exactly.
sure that the different parts of the data that is available, which all relates to a consumer at some point, you're making sure that everything is connected together so that the user gets the right information at the right time. Is that the right way to put it?
Exactly. And when you think about, again, we're back to the customer experience.
Yeah.
Name all the bad things that go wrong in an automotive customer experience. Well, the engine light comes on. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is trying to make the appointment. How inconvenient is it? You have to call the dealer and make an appointment. Even if they have Salesforce as their dealer scheduling system, right? We call it field service scheduling, right? To schedule the next best technician that can fix that problem. So that's another heartache. And then the other heartache is you never know when the field technician, this is on the company side, the field technician needs to know what the problem is when the vehicle's approaching, right? Why not prepare that field technician with the tools they need, the knowledge they need to fix the problem that comes out of our field service knowledge base, right? Is the part in stock even? Don't let the customer come. If the parts, don't tell them, oh, well, you have to wait 2 weeks because we don't have the part to fix your problem. How frustrating would that be? So all the pain points can be easily fixed when you connect a deeply unified platform in the back like Salesforce with the vehicle.
That's really fascinating. The different use cases you are explaining to me, what they show is that a tech company like you guys can really have a play in the automotive ecosystem much broader than it used to be like 10 years ago or something, right? I mean, what I mean by that is that you are no longer just, quote unquote, a CRM company. You are an actor into the automotive ecosystem. How would you see this evolution going from now to the future?
We're not even a CRM system anymore, a CRM company. We're an agentic enterprise system, right?
Okay.
So our customers now can deploy agents, which we call Agentforce, on our platform, which, again, going back to the full power of our platform, if you build an agent called Agentforce, that has the ability to connect anything in our enterprise or anything in the company's enterprise into an intelligent agent, which takes it to an entirely new level. And it connects the customer in a whole new way, right? So you're not only connecting the customer, but anything, to the back end platform, but anything even beyond that platform, because we have this thing called MuleSoft Fabric, which is an agent orchestration system, right? So we have all these agents out there, and they don't have to be Salesforce agents specifically. They could be external agents from other vendors. Companies can build their own agents if they want on a different platform. We don't recommend it because they might not have a trust layer, right? We have a deep trust layer that goes across our entire platform.
Yeah, because the data security obviously is a big topic, right?
Data security and compliance is another issue.
Regulations eventually.
Regulation, especially in Europe, right? With GDPR and everything like that. You would have to tell the agent, if you're building your own agent, there's so many things that could go wrong with you not training that agent properly or telling that agent what to do. Not only that, we just released something that I think is really game-changing, and it's called Agentforce scripting, where you can be more deterministic about your agent, right?
What do you mean?
Right now, you're at the mercy of the large language models that are connecting your agents. But if you're able to, almost like a programming language, tell your agent specifically what to do and what not to do, that's a limitation of a normal agent. And now we can say, if we can use if this, then that logic to tell the agent what to do. So, for example, in an old style agent, you can say, always be courteous and kind to your customer, right? Never be rude to them. But with our new scripting language, it goes beyond that. You can say, if they mention any of these keywords, then take this action. And it's not just about responding in English or whatever language they're responding in, but it's also taking actions on the back end. And that's where it becomes really dangerous. If you're not prescriptive and deterministic about what actions you're taking outside your agent, you could do some bad damage, right? You could violate security. You could cause real external problems.
So, but on the flip side, if you program the agents the right way, then it can do things that today are not available in the market in a way, right?
Exactly.
And so is coming back to my question on how do you see the future of Salesforce in the automotive ecosystem, what do you think the recent evolutions that you guys have operated in your company will enable the OEMs or the automotive industry as a whole to do that they can't really do today? How do you think Agentic AI is going to transform the user experience in car?
Okay, so think of it as a large orchestration system and I mentioned MuleSoft Fabric before. So there's going to be a large orchestration system, and we'll just call it MuleSoft Fabric, where you can register your agents, and not just Salesforce Agentforce agents, but anybody in the industry. And this is where people are going to get specialized. The different verticals within the industry, the different specialties within the industry are going to build their own agents and large language models, right? So that's going to happen, whether you like it or not. Different companies are going to build their own agents that do their own specific tasks and needs. So in order that to be effective, you have to orchestrate all those activities and you have to register those agents. So this MuleSoft Fabric capability is a place where you can go to register those agents. So I know, let's say I'm a parts company.
Yeah.
And I have the world's best agent for finding my parts and finding the cheapest price for my parts. So I'm going to build an agent for that. That doesn't do anybody any good if nobody can access that, right? Or if it's not published anywhere to access that. Plus, the revenue will be reduced if they aren't able to get the word out that I've got this really cool agent that finds not only the right part for you, and maybe it's even an aftermarket part that might serve somebody else's need and they can't get it because of the supply chain issue. Right? They should be able to come to my agent and get the answer, and I should be able to sell more. So if they register that up with a system like MuleSoft Fabric, and they register it in a secure way, and MuleSoft Fabric is aware that that parts agent is available, then anybody that's connected to that MuleSoft Fabric has an unfair advantage over anybody else that isn't connected to that, right? Does that make sense? Am I answering your question?
No. Yeah. I'm saying this. What I'm trying to understand is if we look more broadly at how the whole industry is moving. So what we have been talking so far is how Salesforce is becoming an important actor into the automotive industry by providing the OEMs with agentic AI and new solutions and smarter access to data. Let's put it this way. How would you see Salesforce, and you have been talking about Qualcomm recently in this conversation, how do you see Salesforce also operating with different actors of the industry in order to bring to the automotive industry more capabilities? Do you see you guys seeing as a kind of orchestrator of different companies, so that's ultimately to provide a different or better user experience?
Yes, I do. We're the orchestrator, but also a lot of these companies that we're partnering with are also Salesforce customers.
Yeah.
So I believe that's an advantage we have and they have, because if they're already a Salesforce customer, they're already building an Agentforce agent. So they already know that there's something that's MuleSoft Fabric, for example, out there that they can connect and register their agents to. They automatically get an advantage by being a Salesforce customer and a Salesforce partner at the same time.
I see. Obviously, what I see as the impact that Salesforce can have in the whole automotive ecosystem is impacting the UX, the user experience, right? And the user experience can be impacted by the fact that he's going to get, I don't know, a message on his watch, on his phone to say, well, actually you have the next appointment coming up. But I think the impact can be also directly in the HMI, the user machine interface of the car, right? Meaning that, and I think that this is what you were relating to, that when you were talking about the example with Harman, is that you see you guys also impacting the machine interface, human machine interface, the HMI with the car, right? How do you see this playing?
You're spot on there. It always comes down to the customer experience. So when you talk about the customer experience, you have to think about how the car is going to interact with the human and then how the human will benefit from that.
Yeah.
So there are different ways that the human experience will be elevated by having an intelligent vehicle that provides, for example, SalesForce at the back end, an Agentic enterprise on the back end of everything. So we're going to see different ways to communicate from an agent or Agentforce to the human. And those can include everything from the dashboard to the heads-up display.
Or voice control.
Or voice control. And when you combine the two, you get things like smart glasses that have the capability to provide not only a heads-up display, they behave and they perform just like a connected vehicle, a heads-up display.
Yeah.
And like another example, using my wife as an example, when she first got into the vehicle and saw the heads-up display, she said, how do I get rid of this? I don't want this. But now she can't live without it, right?
Yeah.
It feeds her important information about, how fast she's going and maybe what her next destination is supposed to be, or turn by turn, whatever.
Yeah.
So if you could think of an agent escalating and improving, actually the word I'm looking for is elevating the customer experience by providing important tidbits to that heads-up display, that elevates the customer experience. Things like assisted parking, taking over the vehicle, autonomous driving, allowing the vehicle to take over for the human when they are not a very good parker. Another example would be fully autonomous driving. Like in the future, what you're going to see is vehicles, you're going to have a car and you're going to own the car, but you're going to lease it out like an Uber. Right. So that customer experience has to be viewed as an elevation again above Uber. So how does an Uber work? People schedule it and you should be able to make money from being able to Uber your car, right? So Why should it sit around and park in your garage? When it's fully charged, you should be able to lease the car. So that is going to elevate the level of customer experience because it'll drive someone from point A to point B, you'll get revenue from that, and then it'll come back and park automatically and recharge itself. And then if it needs service, it'll automatically drive itself to the service bay, right? So there are different ways of elevating that customer experience.
So my last question would be, obviously the whole automotive industry talks about software-defined vehicle, right? Because the vehicles have been defined by hardware for 100 years pretty much. And then since a few years, we see the switch towards a software-defined vehicle, which means that there is more and more opportunities, I guess, to impact the user experience, as we were saying, using software. Obviously, Salesforce is a massive software company. So maybe to finish on this and looking towards the future, how do you see the vehicle being software driven as an opportunity for Salesforce?
Well, so when you think about it, software is eating the world and AI is eating the software, right? So it's not going to be just software running in the vehicle.
Yeah.
AI is already running. Again, companies like Qualcomm are building smaller, large language models that will actually run on board in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's going to evolve into, again, agent-to-agent operation. So you're going to have your agent running in the vehicle or multiple agents running in the vehicle, depending on how, whether they can scale them small enough to do that. And you're going to have the orchestration layer communicating again somewhere. I don't think the orchestration layer is going to be small enough to be able to run in the vehicle. That's going to have to run in the cloud.
Yeah.
And it's really going to be not relevant because of the network speeds are improving. So everybody's talking about 6G here now, 7G. When are we going to do 8G? I don't know. But the network speeds are coming down to the point where it's not as much of an issue. And even the ability to communicate via satellite, right?
Yeah, this is a big topic here. Indeed, for automotive, the fact that there's going to be connectivity anywhere, anytime, because it's going to be either cellular or satellite. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was amazing to talk to you, and thank you for all your great insights.
Thank you. Really had a good time talking to you.
Remember that behind every dashboard and every feature lies a human story, and those are the stories we are committed to uncovering here on Under the Hood. I'm Stéphane Lagrelle. Thanks for listening.